Hi.
What's your name?
My name is Lou.
Thanks for being here, Lou.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. So I guess I have a bit of a story to preface this. Both of us, we are applying for disability.
Applying for?
Disability.
Okay.
I know for a fact that I would only be eligible for SSI. I don't know about my partner. And one of the things that is upsetting about Social Security policies is with SSI, if you get married, and my partner and I are engaged, if we get married, there is a chance that one of our incomes is going to be deemed into the other's record, which means that we could either lose a large chunk of our benefits when we officially get it, or we don't get benefits at all. And I already personally know one couple who is getting divorced so they can get these benefits. Like, I'm serious, they have to get divorced in order to have Social Security benefits under SSI, because otherwise their incomes don't mesh well enough so that they can have benefits. And so I guess my biggest fear is that we'll have to limit ourselves and our opportunities in order to make sure that we have the benefits, in order to stay alive, basically. Yeah. And my question to you is, what kind of reforms can you do to the Social Security system so that everybody has access to the benefits they need without having to go through weird loopholes through marriage or family or something like that?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Lou. Without getting into go from the need that these benefits are there to meet, and then getting to a place where they're empowered financially to where they're able to support themselves. So too many families are faced with this predicament and this catch-22. Well, do I just only work a part-time job or not get married in order to qualify for these benefits, even though I really want to be able to work a full-time job, but if I do so, I'm gonna still not be able to make enough to keep a roof over my head and feed my family, but it's gonna be more than the government allows me to make sure that I maintain these benefits. This is what's at the heart of the problem here. And I think if we're in a place where we want to help encourage people to continue to better themselves and to move an approach, there has to be that bridge in place that says, okay, well, maybe you need a little more help right now, but maybe later on down the line you won't need as much help or any at all, but we're going to walk with you down that path. I think this would help take away what detractors to these programs often talk about, which is, oh, there's just, people who, they just live on welfare and they don't want to work because they're lazy or this or that or whatever. But for a lot of families, it really is a choice where I can have a home and a roof over my head for my kids, or completely lose. The Aloha shirt, please.
Aloha. Aloha. My name is Ian, and my question for you is in two parts. What's your strategy to get into the next Democratic debate, and what can we do to help?
It's a great question. So I'm going to give a little bit of background here before I answer your question. These debates are helpful in the sense that you have a great platform to be able to be in front of millions of people and increase name recognition. So at least more people, at a bare minimum, they say, oh, that's Tulsi Gabbard. Maybe I want to Google her and learn more about her, right? Because the format for these debates, I'd love to hear what you think. Maybe you disagree with me, but when you've got 30 or 60 seconds to answer a question about how do you solve the immigration crisis, you're not going to see the kind of knowledge and nuance and maybe contrast and differences that I and the other candidates may have on how we would solve that problem. So as a result, I feel like people don't really walk away better informed as voters saying, oh, okay, so I get it. These are your positions and visions, and these are the visions of those other people, and being able to say, okay, I feel like I have more information now than when this whole thing began. It really has turned into this thing about, you know, sound bites and who took a bigger attack at who and who got a punch in, and really what does that do? I mean, that drives up ratings for the media, it gets more clicks on their website, but it doesn't really help us in this process. It is helpful to get in front of people. I'm not discounting that, but it's not the only way to get in front of people and to reach voters. So whether we're in the next debate or not, we will continue moving our campaign forward with your help, getting in front of as many voters as possible through every means possible. Old school grassroots campaigning, we're doing 3 or 4 town halls every single day, traveling across your state, talking directly with voters across Iowa, using social media and digital to maximize getting in front of people, yard signs, phone calls, tweets, Facebook, the whole deal. We are doing that. I want to ask for your help because you really can. Every one of you has friends, whether it's like the old school way and you actually pick up the phone and call people. These kids these days, and I'm getting older, and I can say these kids these days, I like, hey, did you reach out to this person? Yeah, I texted like 15 times. It's like, did you call? Like, no. Who does that anymore? Actually calling, texting, tweeting, whatever. There are so many ways that each of you are able to help us get our message out and at least get folks to know who I am and get more information about me and my candidacy. How do we get into the next debate? We have far surpassed the donor grassroots requirement, thanks to people like you who have made that happen. Give yourselves a round of applause, please. I wouldn't have been on that debate stage at all if it wasn't for the support of so many people, and I'm really, really grateful. So we far exceeded that standard weeks ago. As you know, the DNC requires 4 polls showing at least 2% support in each of those polls. We have seen, I think the current count is 30. The DNC has only chosen to recognize 2 of them as qualifying polls. So this is the problem. I mean, how much more can we do? We are continuing to do all that we can. There's a lack of transparency in the DNC process that we are calling out and that we are calling for change because for you as voters, if you don't see that there is transparency and fairness in the process and that the DNC is acting as gatekeepers, essentially saying, well, here are the only people you get to choose from, then we lose faith that and trust that this process is actually working for us, for we the people. So we're going to continue to speak truth to power, and we're going to continue to reach out to voters everywhere, and we need your help to be able to do so. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Seth. Whoa.
Hi, Seth.
I'm one of the libertarians in this coalition that you're building.
Love it.
And I want to say that you've already sold me on your thing. I'm voting for you, Tulsi 2020. We're going.
All right. Thank you.
But as a libertarian in this election space, I'm curious as to what each candidate thinks. I wonder, do you have any ethical problems with taxation? Whether or not it's theft, or whether or not it's permissible even if it is theft, or just where are your thoughts on this subject?
Taxation is theft when our taxes are being used towards things that do not serve our interests. Y'all work hard every day. When you pay those taxes, you should have faith and trust that they will be used for things like making sure you've got safe roads to drive on, to make sure that your kids are getting a good education in these public schools, to make sure that your firefighters have what they need in order to make sure your house doesn't burn down if something happens. There are basic needs that we have in this country, and our taxes are meant to serve those needs, not to fund needless layers and layers and layers of bureaucracy, certainly not to fund these wasteful wars and nuclear weapons that are making us and the world less safe. This gets to the heart of what I'm talking about here. It is about fiscal responsibility, and it is about accountability and making sure that our hard-earned taxpayer dollars are redirected away from this kind of waste and abuse and used to serve the interests of our people. And look, if we're in a place where we have we have a surplus where our taxpayer dollars.
Hi, my name's Julie.
Julie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for coming, and I've been very impressed, and I came with a very open mind.
Great.
I didn't know much about you, but I've been really impressed by I can just see it in your face, you know?
Thank you.
And I just really appreciate that. And as an Iowan, we have the luxury of meeting a lot of candidates face to face. I think we really need to take advantage of that. And you know, my concerns are probably like most people, you know, the immigration and gun control and education, healthcare. Like, we all have those concerns. But we've got to get Donald Trump out of the White House.
Yes. Yes.
I just don't think the country can withstand another 4 years of him. So then this is my question to you is, when it comes down to it, I need to vote for someone who can beat him.
Yep.
And I watch the polls, and I'm very impressed by you, and I really like you, and I like what you're saying, but what do you say to a voter that says, I have to vote for the person that's going to beat Donald Trump?
Yeah. President Trump has been fanning the flames of this for deplorables or any because they voted for Donald Trump or because they stayed home or because they're Republicans. Do you really think that those people have any interest in then coming and joining our big tent party? And we are inviting everyone to join us because this is what we need to unify our country, to heal these divisive wounds, to be able to move. This is also what makes me the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump, because our coalition includes Democrats, Republicans, independents, libertarians, progressives, conservatives, people who are coming together based on a love of our country and a respect for each other as fellow Americans and an understanding about what's at stake and how critical it is that we come together now. Yes, to defeat Donald Trump, but only then so we can move forward and begin to solve the deeply seated problems in this country together. Thank you. Thank you. We'll go to Team Fat for the next question.
Last question.
Hi, my name is Aaron. Really quick, I want to thank you for your service to our country. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much.
And that ties into my question. My father served, my brother is currently serving in the U.S. Army, and I want to know, what are your plans for helping fix the VA and making sure that our veterans and those that have sacrificed for us, all of us, no matter where we sit politically, what are your plans to fix that and help take care of the VA and our vets?
Thank you, Aaron. Really appreciate it. Now, there are warrior ethos that I just take this opportunity. If there are veterans here, would you stand or raise your hand and let us recognize you? Thank you for your service. Thank you. And those warrior ethos are, I will always place the mission first. I will never accept defeat, I will never quit, and I will never leave a fallen comrade. As President and Commander-in-Chief, those warrior ethos are ingrained in my heart. I will never leave a fallen comrade. So unlike what we've seen for too long, and for veterans, we see this over and over again, and our families and our loved ones, where on Veterans Day and Memorial Day, we hear a lot of lip service coming from politicians who give fancy speeches saying thank you for your service, but then who do not go and do the real work necessary to make sure our brothers and sisters in uniform are getting the care and the benefits that they have earned through that service. I'll give you one quick example. Just the other day, a colleague of mine, a Republican, he's a friend of mine who I've worked with on a whole host of issues, Congressman Brian Mast from Florida. He is a veteran who lost 3 limbs in his service as an EOD officer. He was the guy who went out and cleared the explosives from the road so that they were safe for everybody else to travel on. He's a member of Congress from Florida. Early on getting elected, he went and he asked the VA, can I put a congressional office in the VA in his district to make it easier for us to be able to help provide service to veterans and see how we can strengthen the VA. He's also on the Veterans Affairs Committee in Congress. And recently, there were some major issues that were raised within the VA, problems that needed to be addressed, and he started asking really tough questions of the VA official who was before that congressional committee, as he should have. Very quickly, within days after that, guess what happened? The VA evicted him from his office that he had set up there in their hospital. They evicted a member of Congress, a combat veteran who sacrificed greatly for our country. And of course they said, well, we needed to use that space to be able to serve other veterans. But I gotta tell you, the timing is a little too conspicuous. This is not a coincidence. We need a leader who understands the cost of war and who will break through those who are standing in the way of progress to make sure that our VA fulfills its mission to serve and take care of our veterans. There are too many changes here to talk about in great detail. There's a few that I'll address quickly. We are living in the 21st century, in the digital age. It is unacceptable that we still have service members who are expected to keep every single document and piece of paper related to their service or related to their health care to make sure that they actually get the benefits that they've earned. Because the VA says, when you walk in, hey, I gotta see your file. And look, I was enlisted for 4 years before I went through OCS. And to expect an 18-year-old kid who's just graduated from high school, who's a private in the United States Army, to keep every single document beginning from basic training for years until he gets out of uniform and goes to the VA, it's ridiculous. But what happens if you don't have those documents? The VA says, well, if it's not on paper, it didn't happen. And so our veterans get screwed in the process. This is the majority of the work that we do in our congressional office, is help try to track down those documents to be able to make sure our veterans get what they deserve. We had a veteran in Hawaii who served in Vietnam, who was blown up a number of times there, who literally had a piece of shrapnel in his leg that was in his leg for decades. The DOD wouldn't give him his Purple Heart because he didn't have the paperwork saying he got blown up in Vietnam that put shrapnel in his leg. Can you believe that? It's so unbelievable, but it's real. So I was grateful to be able to help him, and we were able to finally get to a point where we had a Purple Heart ceremony for him and a number of other Vietnam veterans, finally, to recognize their service. These are just one example of the change we need to see, where there's no excuse for why the DOD on the service side as well as on the medical side can't keep digital records for every single one of us that are then put on a card or transferred over to the VA, so when you walk in, making that transition from uniform to civilian life, that your entire life is there and you can get exactly what you need right away. Thank you. There's so much more we can talk about. Not enough time, unfortunately. I want to say thank you again to all of you for spending this time to come here, coming with an open mind, asking your questions. I hope you seriously consider supporting my campaign and joining us in this movement. Thank you so much. Is Caitlin? No, Caitlin's on a call. So Caitlin is our deputy campaign manager and is leading our organizing effort. I'm going to see if I can give her spiel. We've talked about how integral you are to helping us move our campaign forward. This is a volunteer-driven campaign. Every dollar, every contribution that we get goes directly to maximizing our voter contacts. So we've got a bunch of cool ways that we're able to maximize your help if you choose to help us, so that we can help make sure that when you're reaching out to your friends and your family and your coworkers, that we're able to follow up, get them the information. A number of volunteers here with clipboards, and we can help get your information and get you connected into what we're trying to accomplish. Recognizing that both with our campaign and the change we need to see in our government, nobody does it unless we make it happen. We're going to have a photo line now. Yvette's going to give you some directions here. Again, thank you so much. Tulsi2020.com if you want more information. Aloha.
Aloha, everybody. Thank you for waiting. I know it took us a while to get set up, but if you'd like a picture with Tulsi, can you please? That's the exit. Okay. I was gonna. Let's have you line up on that side of the room, and you can come up on stage and take a picture. Thank you.
Absolutely, very much so. Okay, good. Yeah, I'd love to help. Yvette, Caitlin is actually my lead on the ground. She's on a call outside. If you just let Yvette know, and she'll get you connected with Caitlin. Okay, great. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Is it an incumbent? Is in the seat or is it an open seat?
We thought this was low. It's bad. Getting worse. Where'd all the good people go? I've been changing channels, I don't see them on the TV shows. Where'd all the good people go? We got heaps and heaps of what we sow. They got this and that with a rattle attack test and 1, 2, now what?
Cool. Give me 1 second.
Misuse, got too much to lose. Give me some truth now, whose side are we on? Whatever you say.
Sorry, I want to give him a hug real quick. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Glad to be asked.
I will hug you while I'm at it. Isn't he awesome? Yes. We got here and I was blown away. No, thank you so much for sharing today.
An honor.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, put yourself.
We got heaps and heaps of what we sow.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. We need change. We need the right kind of change. And that's what we're doing. So thank you. I'm so grateful. Really. And we will call on you to take advantage of that support more.
Please do.
It's fun. We have live music and it's we should have some fun while we're doing this.
Absolutely.
It's not all work.
It can't be.
No. Exactly. Thank you very much. I will. Thank you. Can I take a picture with you before you take off? AJ's got a. Well, let's step up here on the stage. We'll do a fancy one. There we go. Oh, beautiful. I love it. I'm assuming you played as well. Oh my gosh.
My first time around was as a classic musician. So they brought
No kidding.
classic.
Oh, where are we moving? Okay. Wow.
But now it's whatever pays the bills.
There you go. Awesome. This is my husband. He's a big fan of yours as well. He's also a musician. Plays the drums, plays the guitar, and we should all do something together.
Oh, I would love
I think
that.
it'd be fun.
Absolutely. If you guys aren't traveling with guitars, I have a sick addiction to buying great guitars. Las Vegas to learn how to play music.
There's been a culture difference.
Yeah, it was something for a simple